Hi, gang. It's Patrick.
And Adam.
Coming up on today's episode, we chat about my recent trip to Walt Disney World for the Run Disney Springtime Surprise Weekend. As always, we discuss the latest Disney news, and we close out the show with some quick D. All that and more on today's episode of Gays Do the D.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Adam, don't forget to stretch. Hummel.
Hilarious that you should bring that up because my back is a little sensitive today, Patrick.
Uh-oh, stretch it out. Stretch out that back. It's important.
It is important, Patrick Hoop-de-doo Kazuki.
I need to see that show. I really do. I can't claim that middle name, but I'll take it for now until I actually see the Hoop-de-doo review.
You can see it. It's a coming back, y'all. It's coming back.
I can't wait. Adam, however are you?
I'm doing wonderfully well, aside from the back issue, Patrick. How are you doing?
Folks in your 20s, start stretching now. Just get into it now. You're going to thank yourself in the future. I promise you that. I'm great, Adam. I'll tell you what, I'm on a bit of a home edit journey right now.
Okay, yeah, great.
Spring has sprung. April is upon us. Windows are starting to open. And I'm realizing that I have a disaster on my hands in my house right now.
So you're feeling the urge to do some spring cleaning.
That's right. I have the urge to purge.
Now, are you watching that show on Netflix with those delightful ladies? I can't remember what it's called. I know their company's called The Home Edit.
You better believe I'm watching it. I believe the show is called The Home Edit.
Okay.
I think, but... yeah, I am watching it. I don't know if I love the two of them, but I love the soothingness of seeing an organized home. That's what I'm in it for. It's like a Zen thing for me.
Mm-hmm. And why do you hate women, Patrick?
Just broadly, I don't like shows hosted by women.
I'm just trying to get that one soundbite from you that really puts us on the map, as being a controversial podcast.
Oh, there's more than one out there. Let's be clear. There's some photos. Who knows?
Is it their general exuberance, their bubbliness, their over excitement for organization that kind of gives you pause?
I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what it is. There's just something about them that I'm like, I think you have dead bodies somewhere. I think there's something going on.
Yes, but they're very neatly organized and stacked by color.
100%. Arms go here, legs over here.
Clear containers so you can see where all of the body parts are stored.
Oh, that's gross. And it brings me a little bit of joy.
I would love them to come to my house because I want them to do it for me. I don't have a ton of stuff, but what I do have, particularly in the kitchen, I think needs some organization.
That's where I'm starting right now. My refrigerator has never been more empty because I have just been getting rid of things that have expired, an embarrassingly amount of time ago.
So it's a spring cleaning and a spring cleanse for your body.
100% that. 100% that.
Well, good for you. Let's post some before and after photos on Instagram.
That won't be happening. That will not be happening. It's a real mess.
Tweedles, let us know. Do you have the urge to purge right now? Are you spring cleaning? Are you going to be selling some of your Disney merch online?
Oh.
Give us a heads up. How are you preparing for the spring season?
I like this. This is our whole next episode. It's just before and after stories of home cleaning. Well, we have a lot to get through, Adam. Let's just jump in right now. It sounds like we have a tweedle to shout out in one Stephanie on Instagram at Suddenly Stephanie.
Suddenly Stephanie.
That's exactly where my head went as well.
Straight to Ellen Green. You can hear it in your brain, can't you?
Always. No one is straight to Ellen Green. I think everyone is real gay to Ellen Green.
Just a gay swerve straight to Ellen Green. Yes, Stephanie sent us the nicest compliment the other day. So we wanted to say, hey, Stephanie, and thank you for listening. We really appreciate you.
Keep those compliments coming, Stephanie.
One thing we don't want to purge are your compliments.
Nope. It's true. Well, we also have another Tweedle to shout out right now. We have a new Patreon family member in Carol. Carol, thank you so much for joining our Patreon family.
Carol, thank you so much. You are invited to Easter brunch.
I love an Easter brunch. I don't know that I love Easter in general, but I love an Easter brunch.
I love everything secular about Easter. I love the candy. I love a bunny. I love eggs. I do love eggs. I love a protein situation. But when it gets into the religious element, then you lose me a bit.
No, I just want a Cadbury moment, you know?
Yeah. I mean, does it have to be Easter to have a Cadbury moment? It does not.
Not in my mouth. Not in my mouth.
That's the first time he's ever said that.
Nope. Sure isn't. Oh, it's the first time I ever meant it, though.
Yeah. Well, Carol, thank you for joining us. Patrick, if someone is interested at all in becoming a Patreon family member, how do they go about doing that?
Such a great question, Adam. Such a great question. We haven't gone through this spiel in a while. I'm a little rusty. Let's see if I can get through it. So you head on over to gazetothed.com and you click on that donate button. From there, you'll be taken to our Patreon page, where for as little as $1 reoccurring a month, you too can join the ranks of our Patreon family members.
Like riding a bicycle, PK.
I can't ride a bike, but if I could... Apparently, it'd come real easy to me.
Yeah, it's really simple if you want to join in on the fun. And speaking of being a Patreon family member, you know that entitles you to exclusive Patreon-only giveaways and Patreon-only episodes called Gaze to the D, Raw and Uncut.
Raw and uncut. Speaking of which, we will be recording one very shortly after this episode, so stay tuned, Patreon members. You have a raw and uncut heading your way.
Something to look forward to in your Easter baskets.
Cadbury and raw and uncut. Easter.
So thank you again, Carol. We sincerely appreciate it. Thank you, Stephanie. Moving on, Patrick, we had some feedback from our last episode. We did a little do-over Disney, and we focused on Disney's Animal Kingdom. For those that didn't catch the episode, please go back and give it a listen. Lisa, who you can find on Instagram at Mrs. Mouse61, wrote to us to say, while your ideas for the many ways Disney could use basically all of Animal Kingdom for storage space or shows were intriguing, the best part of the show was listening to you both laughing and just having a ball. Oh, keep, as Greg Isms Official says, finding your joy. Hands clap emoji, thumbs up emoji.
Find your joy indeed, Adam. Find my joy, Adam.
It's enough work, Patrick, for me to find my own joy. How very dare you put it upon me to find your joy as well.
Listen, I'm busy cleaning out my fridge. I need some help.
That's joy right there, clean fridge.
Well, moving on, we have Parker writing into us on Instagram at ADVParker. Parker says, I have been loving your Disney Do-Over episodes, and boy, do I have thoughts with an OTS, smirk emoji, and thought bubble emoji. First of all, I do not believe that it's time for Dinoland USA to say goodbye. It's okay. I can't expect you guys to be perfect 100% of the time. You can expect that. I'd much rather see it reworked to become Pangea. This new version of Dinoland would be set up as the Dino Institute's Cretaceous Period Field Research Station. For the most part, Dinosaur would remain the same, but since you're already in the past, it could be reworked as a field expedition or rescue mission. I would like to see new animatronics, though. The old carnival area could then make way for a gentler river cruise type of ride, and I'd like to see a coaster somewhere to honor the original concept of the land. As much as Disney's Animal Kingdom is already fraught with Lion King representation, I'm surprised that the franchise has yet to receive a dedicated dark ride. Interesting point. So yeah, we got to make that happen, and perhaps it can take inspiration from Timon and Pumbaa's virtual safari ride from the Lion King 1.5 bonus features. Look it up. Parker says, if we must bring Zootopia into the park, I'd want to see that replace Rafiki's Planet Watch. I think there's a good opportunity there to create the train scene from the movie. Like you said, South America definitely needs a dedicated land with attractions themed to Up, Indiana Jones, and Encanto, and perhaps that can go in the expansion plot. Finally, I want to bring back Rivers of Light, but make it better, of course. The original concept art for the show is gorgeous, and I think there's still some potential potential there if they reworked it a bit. Maybe it could be more World of Color-ish. And during the day, that amphitheater space would be perfect for a show inspired by Raya and the Last Dragon. Dragon emoji. I did not know there was a dragon emoji.
Raya. Yeah, let's bring Raya into Animal Kingdom.
Very interested in that. Very, very interested. Let's just sneak in some of that beastly kingdomness, shall we?
It is Joe Rohde approved. I mean, it was originally part of the plans. Why not? Let's get it back in there.
Why ever not?
And lastly, we heard from our dear friend and relative, Auntie Myrna, who you can find on Instagram at salad. She says, "Bonjour, messieurs," which she then translates to "Hello, misters." Thank you, Auntie Myrna. Auntie Myrna here. As sad as I am that the podcasts are now bi-weekly, I can certainly hear the spring back in your steps. And once again, I almost fell off the treadmill with smiles and laughter. Keep being you. Lerves it, she says. She goes on to say, this isn't particularly a do-over, but more of a repurposing of sorts. Mount Everest, when you hit the peak and you see your life flash before your eyes and want to pee your pants a wee tad. There are all those hair ties up there. Side note, I've Googled why said hair ties are up there. She's a mystery. Any insight? Why not gather all those hair ties and turn them into a big ball of elastics? This could be used as playtime for the large cats and or Gary the gay ostrich. I can see Gary running at the speed of light, kicking this big old hair tie ball for fun skis. Myrna's brain thinks in special ways. Thought I'd share. Then she goes on to actually write out winky face emoji, heart's eyes emoji, waving hey hey emoji, XOXO.
I like the repurposing of the hair ties. It's very conservation forward.
Great point, Patrick. Right in line with Animal Kingdom's messaging. Have we ever talked about the hair ties, like why they're there? My assumption has always been that one pesky dance team member had a bright idea of flinging her hair tie at the top of the ride at one point, and then it's just become this thing that people now do.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've actually never seen anyone actually put a hair tie on there.
Right,
I'd be interested in maybe taking a photo each time I'm on that ride and seeing if the placements change at all or if they grow. I don't know. I'm interested. It is a mystery. Someone knows it, but my guess is it was an accident and they just kept it.
Let us know, Tweedles, if you happen to know why they're all there. My guess is annoying teens.
It always comes down to that, doesn't it?
It really, really does. Well, thank you, Auntie Myrna. Thank you, Parker. Thank you, Lisa, for your feedback. Always great to hear from our Tweedles.
Absolutely. Keep the feedback coming. And in return, I will keep the This Week in Disney History coming towards you.
That's a threat, everybody.
It is a threat and a promise. 2 in 1. Here we go. This Week in Disney History. Starting out with the birthday first. 136 years ago, Adam, on April 13th, 1886, character actor Christian Rubb was born in Austria. Who is Christian Rubb? So glad you asked. Rubb is the voice actor and physical likeness for Geppetto in Disney's Pinocchio. Look it up. He looks exactly like Geppetto. Now, interestingly, Rubb was also cast in the original Swiss Family Robinson in 1940, which Disney then bought the rights to and remade in 1960.
Wow. Now, in certain circles, Christian Rubb means something completely different.
Okay, gotta move on. Move on quickly. Let's, it's not my Easter basket, I'll tell you that. 30 years ago, Tweedles out there. On April 12th, 1992, Euro Disney Resort opened in France, just east of Paris. Along with the theme park, 5 hotels opened surrounding the resort, including Hotel Cheyenne, Santa Fe, Newport Bay Club, Hotel New York, and Disneyland Hotel. And a campground opened as well called the Davy Crockett Ranch. Now, here's some interesting facts. 500,000 guests were expected on opening day, but only 50,000 were admitted due to the massive protests from the French people who feared their culture would be damaged by Euro Disney. Now, as many Tweedles know, the park has a very interesting past. It was not received well, and it took many, many, many years for it to gain popularity. You could argue that it's still struggling to really reach its full potential. In fact, its original financial failure caused the U.S. parks to pause many park projects, including, famously, Beastly Kingdom, which we mentioned earlier in the program in Animal Kingdom. Now, of course, today it's now known as Disneyland Paris and is loved by many and is currently undergoing massive refurbishments and enhancements. And it is the only Disney park in the world to officially hold a Pride celebration. So we see you, Disneyland Paris. We see you.
One of these days, Patrick, likely after they get done with their expansion, they're really working on that Walt Disney Studios park. They're going to be bringing some exciting areas to that park. Then it's time for a trip.
I think you're right. Although I have been seeing, I'm not going to go this year, but I've been seeing a lot of press around the Pride celebration this year, and it looks crazy. It looks amazing this year.
Okay, I'll go this year, I guess.
So Tweedles, if you are on the spot reporters for us, we will send you a whole button in return for your pictures and your sound bites and your reporting.
One whole button. That is your payment. Yes. Thank you, Patrick. Wonderful This Week in Disney History, as always. Before we head into the news, we want to let everybody know that we have a merch sale coming up. That's right, April 13th through the 17th. All items in our merch store will be on sale, including our very popular Say Gay items.
Love the Say Gay items. They're flying off the shelves, frankly.
We can't keep them in stock. JK, they're printed on demand, so they'll always be available to you. As a reminder, all of the proceeds we receive from our merch sales will be donated to Equality Florida, and our merch store host, TeePublic, will donate an additional $1 up to $1,000 for every apparel item we sell through June. So not just our Say Gay items. Every single apparel item in our store that you buy, TeePublic will donate $1 to Equality Florida up to $1,000.
That is correct. To purchase an item, you can go over to gazedothedeed.com/merch, where you'll be sent directly to our merch store. And if you already are stocked up on all of the GDTD merch you could possibly own, then you can donate directly to Equality Florida if you choose by going to eqfl.org.
They're going to be incredibly busy, as you can imagine, so those donations will be greatly appreciated. And now, Patrick, it's time for us to hop right into the news.
Let's just keep this Easter basket metaphor going. I like it. Let's dig into the news basket, shall we? I don't like that. That sounded gross.
Let's cut open that Cadbury cream news egg and lick out the insides.
Oh, God. As RuPaul contestants would say, it's chocolate.
Still thinking about it's chocolate, Patrick. Still thinking about that.
Worst catchphrase that's ever happened.
All right, folks, an update on the Don't Say Gay bill saga that continues to occupy my every waking moment. Patrick, it's Disney versus DeSantis. It's the House of Mouse versus the spineless louse. What do you think about that?
I feel good about it. I feel good for you about that.
Okay, I'm sure, as you all know by now, on Monday, March 28th, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed the controversial Parental Rights in Education Bill, or Don't Say Gay bill, into law, which will take effect July 1st. As a refresher, the bill dictates that, quote, classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards, end quote. And in a press conference on the same day, DeSantis stated teaching kindergarten-aged kids that they can be whatever they want to be was inappropriate for children. He said, quote, it's not something that's appropriate for any place, but especially not in Florida, end quote.
Good for him. Good for him. Especially not in Florida. I don't understand that.
I don't get it either. After the bill was signed, Disney released the following statement, quote, Florida's HB 1557, also known as the Don't Say Gay bill, should never have passed and should never have been signed into law. Our goal as a company is for this law to be repealed by the legislature or struck down in the courts, and we remain committed to supporting the national and state organizations working to achieve that, end quote. What's followed since is a lot of conservative posturing from many many Republican politicians, including Governor DeSantis signaling his approval of discussions by Florida House Republicans to repeal the 1967 Reedy Creek Improvement Act, which created the Reedy Creek Improvement District, essentially giving Walt Disney World its own government with 2 cities and land in Orange and Osceola counties. Meanwhile, several federal House Republicans have sent a letter to Disney CEO Bob Chapek condemning Disney for its, quote, outspoken attack, end quote. The letter closes with, quote, as a company, your goal should be to make a profit, provide job opportunities for hardworking Americans, and offer quality products and services to your customers, not cowering to a small political minority seeking to impose a fringe ideology on the rest of the country. We condemn your outspoken attack on Florida's common sense protections for children and parents, and we worry your words will be weaponized and used to further divide and inflame our nation. We stand in opposition to the dangers posed by corporate wokeness, and we applaud the Florida legislature for giving children and families the tools to fight back against woke indoctrination. We urge you to reconsider your antagonistic comments, end quote.
I can't. I'm just so confused by all of this. It's so upsetting, and it's not even funny anymore. It's just like, what is happening? What is happening with Republicans lately?
The answer, I think, is nothing. They've got nothing. And so they're just kind of lunging toward these culture war issues that they know will just rile up their base, right?
Right, absolutely. It's so weird. I just don't, how do you look at this and go, yeah, that's the right side of history, to be outspoken about acceptance, to be outspoken and be against people who want everyone to be happy. I don't understand it. I can't wrap my mind around it.
Neither can, Patrick. Abigail Disney, Roy O. Disney's granddaughter and frequent critic of the Walt Disney Company. She actually penned a Washington Post op-ed stating that the company needs to, quote, weather the momentary outrage of people who will not be satisfied until they have erased an entire class of human beings, end quote. And she also notes, Patrick, quote, if this brand does not stand for love, what on earth is it for? End quote. So a rare moment, seemingly so anyway, of Abigail Disney actually supporting the Walt Disney Company in its efforts to overturn this bill.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say I am thankful that Disney was so quick to respond to this with a pretty strongly worded statement, and they seem to be standing behind it. They are erring in the correct direction now, which is great to see.
Yes, and it's going to be fascinating to watch how this plays out if the Florida House Republicans decide to remove or repeal the 1967 Reedy Creek Improvement Act. Then things are really going to get dicey because Disney is such a huge employer in Florida, and it will be intense to watch how it all kind of plays out after that.
Agreed. I just don't think that the Republican Party has the cards in their hands that they think they do. I don't think that they actually want to wake the sleeping giant that will be Disney if they push them too far. It won't end well, I feel like, for the Republican Party, knowing how much power and money Disney actually does have behind them. And sorry to tell you, we're not in the minority. You are. You're in the minority, my friend. People who are against love, people who are against equality, you are in the minority, and you have a fight on your hands. So bring it, is what I have to say to them. Bring it and see what happens. It's not going to end well for you.
It is an audio medium podcasting, so I just want everyone to know that there's a vein popping in Patrick's forehead right now, and he's literally just put on boxing gloves.
It's true. It's absolutely true. It's chocolate. This is what it's chocolate means. You know, it's a real bummer.
It's time for some much, much happier news. I have some Muppets updates for you, Patrick, or some Mupdates.
I am proud and embarrassed of that at the same time. Well done.
The Muppets Mayhem, a new series coming to Disney Plus, is adding more fleshy featured players to its cast of mostly felted friends. An April 5th Variety exclusive reports that Taj Mowry, best known for starring in the WB series Smart Guy for 3 seasons in the lead role, as well as the Freeform series Baby Daddy and Disney's Kim Possible, will be joining actor Lily Singh in the series, which is about the beloved Muppets musical group, the Electric Mayhem Band, as they try to record their first ever album. Lily Singh will star as Nora, the human junior A&R executive tasked with managing the Electric Mayhem Band. Taj Mowry will play Gary Moogowski, a lovable, awkward, diehard superfan of the band who loyally follows them from gig to gig and is an avid audiophile who knows his way around a mixing board. And Patrick, I bet that's really going to come in handy in the plot of the series.
I think it just might.
The Goldbergs creator, Adam F. Goldberg, developed the Muppets Mayhem along with Jeff Yorks and our pal Bill Beretta, who directed Muppets Haunted Mansion. So that makes me feel really great about this upcoming series. No premiere date has been set.
So excited about this. I am beyond delighted to see the Muppets having sort of a renaissance moment, if you will.
Yeah, and I like the idea of a spin-off, right? Like we're kind of focusing more on side characters. Maybe that is a great way to really give the franchise some much-needed energy. Like, let's focus on these characters that we don't know that much about.
Absolutely, absolutely. Make it a Marvel situation with these spin-off, one-off situations, and then they all come together to fight the aliens that are coming out of the sky.
You really thought this through. I love everything you're saying right now.
No recycled material here.
Moving on, Oscar winners Ron Howard and Brian Grazer are teaming up with Disney Original Documentary for what is promised as the definitive portrait of Jim Henson, the legendary creator of the Muppets. According to a March 30th deadline exclusive, the nonfiction project from Howard and Grazer's Imagine Documentaries is being produced, quote, with the full participation and cooperation of the Henson family, and will present a fascinating and intimate look at Jim's illustrious career creating treasured characters and revolutionizing television and film, end quote. With never-before-seen personal archives, the film, which will be directed by Howard, will give audiences an exciting first-person view into the life of one of the world's most inspiring and iconoclastic creators through exclusive home movies, photographs, sketches, and Henson's personal diaries. No release date nor distribution plan for the film has been announced. So, a ton of new Muppet content coming, Patrick, both kind of in front of the camera and behind the camera concerning Jim Henson's life. And let's not forget, if you'll recall, way back in April of last year, we reported on Jim Henson's biopic, which is still in development, called Muppet Man, and that's being worked on by Disney and the Jim Henson Company as well. So much content coming.
A lot of exciting content. I am crying already about these biographies about Jim Henson. I read a biography about him a few years ago, and his life is so fascinating, and he was such an amazing man. I am excited to see this tribute that is about to be bestowed upon him.
Absolutely. The Muppets are just like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to him. There were so many projects and just like bizarre, kooky, wild stuff that he created. And I'm hoping that the documentary really shines a light on these kind of more independent projects that he worked on.
Right, absolutely. I mean, with Ron Howard helming this, I don't see how it could fail.
Golden chocolate bar here.
It lives to see another day. Adam, I'm happy to report that hugs are returning to Disney parks and beyond. As many of our Tweedles are well aware, starting in 2020, much like my life, all character meetings were a no-touch, physically distanced experience. And starting on April 18th, Good Touches are back. The rollout of hugs across the world will happen in phases in Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Lines, and Aulani. Now, no official list of characters has been announced, or whether it will apply to all characters or just fully covered characters, but hugs are returning.
I would love to see a face character or a character not fully covered, just kind of slowly backing away from a kid who's coughing. Like...
Oops. Oopsie. Back up, please. I love that. I love that journey for Cinderella. Moving on, Disney has also announced an official opening date for the highly anticipated attraction Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Guests will launch into space on this first-of-its-kind reverse launch coaster starting this May 27th. Now, D23 Gold members will have their chance to preview the attraction on May 15th, and as of this recording, no date has been set yet for an annual pass holder preview, but it is coming, and this has not stopped guests from wildly speculating on that date, as there are no park passes for Epcot on May 10th, May 16th, May 18th, 19th, 20th, or 21st.
Everybody wants to get on that ride. So just to clarify, Patrick, the D23 preview is just one day, right? It doesn't continue after that point. It's just the one day.
That's correct. That's correct. On May 15th.
How many fights are going to break out during these previews?
Several many fights. Absolutely. Now, no word yet on whether this new attraction will be a virtual queue sign up or a pay to play with the Lightning Lane, or Adam, who knows, maybe even a virtual queue to be able to pay to get on the ride. I would not be shocked.
There's at least 5 levels of lines or payments before you get on the ride. Yeah.
Honestly, wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised. But speaking of shocking, in a good way, Disney has also announced that 2 new solar arrays will come online in Disney World in 2023. Now, once fully operational, the new arrays will more than double the solar power resources available in Disney World. Said another way, once online, 40% of Disney World will be powered by solar energy, producing over 375,000 megawatt hours of carbon-free energy in the first year alone, which is the equivalent of removing 29,500 cars from the road. This will put Disney well on track to hit the 2030 goal of achieving zero net emissions.
Wow. Disney really should have saved this news for Earth Month. Oh, wait a minute.
Wait, they knew what they were doing.
Do you think there'll be a lightning lane to get on the solar arrays?
Someone will ask that question, I'm sure. Now, where's the line for the solar arrays? I don't see it.
In all sincerity, it's very impressive. I mean, it's wild to think about how much energy those arrays are producing when you think about how much energy the parks and the resorts require.
And fun fact, 40% of the power coming out of Disney World is just guests watching the preview channel in their hotel rooms all day long.
They do have the option to turn it off when they leave the room, but they just don't do it.
Nope, a whole array is dedicated to just that channel alone.
In February, we reported on, and quite frankly, laughed a lot about the Walt Disney Company's plans to introduce Story Living by Disney communities for rich people, starting with its Rancho Mirage community in California's Coachella Valley. Last Wednesday, the company announced a far more meaningful real estate project. Walt Disney World Resort has earmarked nearly 80 acres of land to bring a new affordable housing development to life on Walt Disney World property. This initiative has been in the works for quite some time and builds on the Walt Disney Company's long legacy of bringing positive, lasting change to the communities it calls home, making an important difference locally to address one of the nation's greatest challenges. The new development, which is still in the early planning stages and subject to appropriate approvals, might be harder to get those approvals now, Disney, is expected to include more than 1,300 units and will be constructed by a third-party affordable housing developer. The development will offer residents a variety of home choices that are affordable and attainable, located in close proximity to schools and the new and expanding Flamingo Crossings Town Center retail and dining complex. The development will also be available for qualifying applicants from the general public, including Disney cast members. Jeff Volley, president of Walt Disney World Resort, stated, quote, "The lack of affordable housing is affecting many people across our country, including right here in Central Florida. With this initiative, we are lending a hand to make a real and meaningful impact in our community by tapping into the best of our company's strengths. This is the right opportunity and the right time to take action," end quote. This new initiative in Central Florida will join additional investments Disney is making in affordable housing. Several years ago, Disneyland Resort led an effort to revitalize the Orange County Housing Trust that provides last-mile funding for affordable housing projects in Anaheim. This made the Buena Esperanza project, a converted studio apartment community for veterans and unhomed individuals with mental illness, a reality. In addition to providing them a place to live, the community offers job placement and mental health and wellness support to residents. As a result of Disney's investment, a second project, Fenimore Place, in Anaheim, is under construction with an expected completion date of early summer 2022. It will provide more than 100 additional housing units. For additional details about Disney's community initiatives in Central Florida, visit DisneyWorldGivesBack.com.
I'll tell you what, with all of the craziness that's happening lately around the Don't Say Gay bill and the flack that Disney was getting for the response to the bill, it's easy to forget these amazing stories that Disney does as well.
Yes, this sounds like a great opportunity, not only for cast members, but for those in Central Florida who may not have the opportunity to access adequate housing. We know there's a huge housing issue shortage in Central Florida, and we also know that there is a great disparity in wages in that area as well. So hopefully this will really give people a chance to live in a very comfortable and safe environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope Disney continues with this trajectory of remembering that they need to be an accessible company as well.
So we're in agreement. This is gold chocolate.
Oh, we need to let that go. We need to let that go.
I think 10 to 12 more mentions and it becomes funny again.
Let's push it. Let's see what happens.
It's never stopped us before, Patrick.
Adam, I am very excited about this episode because we get to talk about my very favorite subject, me.
Spotlight on Patrick. You know what? I'm very excited as well because I also love to talk about you.
I know. I wish you would stop talking about me as much as you do. It's a little creepy, but that's okay. That's okay. I respect your journey.
It's never going to happen, Patrick. Never going to happen.
Never gonna give you up.
Great. Now we have to pay rights for that song. Oy.
You all just got rickrolled. Sorry about it. Oh, but it's true. It's true. I am back from yet another Disney vacation, specifically for one of my favorite things to do in the whole world, a Run Disney weekend.
The inaugural springtime surprise weekend, Patrick. I can't wait to hear all about it. A first for you, a first for all Run Disney participants. A moment in history, would you say?
A real moment in Disney history, in Run Disney history, in Patrick's history. That's right, the very first Run Disney springtime surprise, or as I have renamed it, Run Springa.
Oh, honey, the last time I had a springtime surprise, I couldn't sit down for a week.
Oh, dear. Thank you, Samantha Jones.
She's back, everybody, and she's being played by me. Okay, Patrick, before we get into the specifics of the springtime surprise events, let's talk about the logistics, as we like to do. When were you in Walt Disney World, and where did you stay? Let's start with that.
Thank you so much for asking. As per usual, my trips generally go, I like a Wednesday to a Monday. I feel like that's just enough time to get what I want to get done, to relax a little bit. So I was there starting on May 30th, and I came back home on April 4th, and I stayed at the Coronado Springs Gran Destino Tower.
Ooh, very nice. Not your first time at the tower, correct?
No, not my first time at the tower. I had been wanting to stay there again. I really love that location, but it's generally it's a little pricey. It is still a moderate resort, but the tower tends to be a little bit pricey. But they were offering annual pass holder discounts, and they had a room available, so I snatched it up.
Love Coronado Springs, love the Gran Destino Tower. You're right. It can be a little bit pricey, right? But typically tends to be more, I would say, of an adults resort because it is attached to a conference center. Not that there's a lot of conferences going on right now at the moment, but typically I would say I tend to see more adults there than families.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It's pretty quiet, which I really loved. It was very relaxing coming home from the runs. It was great to just be in a quiet, adult-heavy resort, I would say. There weren't a lot of screaming children. There weren't a lot, which, you're at Disney. That's expected. But if you can find that space where there's not a ton of action, I guess, it behooves you to stay there, I would say.
Yeah, not a groundbreaking statement I'm making here, but man, if they hook that up to the Skyliner, it is going to be an absolute bop of a resort, Patrick.
That is the one thing I did kind of miss because I was talking to some people I was on the vacation with, and being on that Skyliner is really prime right now because most of the e-ticket attractions are attached to the parks that the Skyliner goes to. So if you can get on a Skyliner resort, I would advise it, but I was willing to give that up for the comfort of the Gran Destino Tower this time around.
May I ask, did you partake of the buses at the resort to the parks, and were there any scheduling issues or great delays?
I did indeed use the buses. That was kind of the only option when you stay there, unless you want to take a taxi or an Uber or what have you. And it is a little frustrating sometimes going to a resort that has multiple bus stops that are all attached to each other. They're not independent from one another. And so there are times where in fact, this happened to me one morning when I was trying to get to Hollywood Studios for the early morning magic, I think it's called now. And when you think you're planning out correctly of when you need to get on the bus and you see that bus pull around the corner and it's already full, your heart sinks a little bit. So that does happen. That is a pitfall, I would say, of staying at that resort. And I do think it's something that Disney needs to fix. I think it's a little unfair for a lot of their guests to have to wait for a long time because the buses are already full by the time it gets to them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've also had a similar experience when I've stayed at Coronado Springs where because there are so many stops. I mean, it's a huge resort, right? And there are multiple stops around the resort. And by the time it gets to the tower, it's just like not an option for you to hop on that bus. So yeah, something for Disney to look into and something for Disney to improve upon. Or just hook up that Skyliner. It's so easy. Just get that Skyliner going.
Just hook up the Skyliner. Absolutely. Super easy. Or at least like have the first stop be a different stop every other time, if that makes sense. Don't make bus stop number 1 the first place you stop at every time. Otherwise, if you're bus stop number 4, you're never going to get on a bus in the morning anyways.
My eyes just crossed thinking about the logistics of that.
And Disney has no idea what they're doing when it comes to logistics, as we all know.
So you stayed in the tower again, beautiful, newly constructed, opened just a few years ago. Did you have a wonderful time?
I had a wonderful time. It's just so clean and nice and plush and comfortable. And as I said, quiet. There's a lot of options. It's a beautiful land as well to walk around, just to take it all in. I really recommend staying there. If you are without children or if you're going on a solo trip, it's a great place to go.
Agreed. All right, let's talk about the main reason why you were there, Patrick. Springtime surprise and the several runs that were associated with that event. How many were there?
There were 3. There was a 5K, a 10K, and then a 10-mile this time.
Tell us all about it, won't you? What did you love? What did you not love?
Oh, interesting question. Well, I wanted to love, and I thought it was going to be my favorite of the runs, the 5K. So the 5K was the Everest themed 5K with the Yeti sort of being the host of it, I guess. And it was supposed to be a scavenger hunt, and it was a nighttime run, which doesn't usually happen. So we were running through Animal Kingdom in the evening after park close. And I'll say this, I'll try to say it as politely as I can. Disney was not ready for that Yeti, I think. There were a lot of logistical problems that happened with that run. One of them being, and it's not Disney's fault at all, the weather was a little bit of an issue. There was a storm that may or may not have been coming, and so they did end up having to cut the course by about a half mile. So technically, we did not run a full 5K, but nothing that can be really done about that. However, there were stories of Disney literally still setting up the holding places, the holding pens and the parking lot area as the runners were entering into the park. They just were not as ready as they needed to be. I think there were a lot of people who were still in the parks that they were trying to usher out of the parks while they were setting up as well. So that turned into a little bit of a nightmare for them. I think they didn't account for the fact that they had diners in the restaurant still, that you can't really tell them, you're done eating now, you have to leave. Right. They sort of have to let them finish their meals. And as we all know, straggling happens when you're dining at night in a Disney park. So there were just some things that I think that they did not quite think through that hindered the run a little bit. That being said, it was really cool to run through Animal Kingdom at night for the 5K. It was really beautiful. The soundscapes were lovely. Running through Pandora at night is always a treat. Being in Pandora at night is always a treat. So I still had fun. It just, it was not executed as well as Disney wanted it to be.
So a few kinks to work out still when it comes to arranging a nighttime run in Walt Disney World. But I love the idea of a nighttime run. I mean, to not have to wake up so early, and still get that run in sounds like a great opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. There were some, just as a runner who runs mostly in the morning, it was weird to do a 5K at night. My body was like, we don't do this. This isn't our testimony. So it wasn't the easiest run in the world either, even though it was not just a 5K. Even though I'm used to doing 5Ks, it was weird to do one at night. But it was nice to have the next morning off and not have to wake up at 2 a.m. the next morning. So there were some pluses and some minuses for that one.
I feel pretty confident in saying that it would have been easy for me to do a nighttime run.
Absolutely. I am behind you 100% on that.
You would have been behind me because I would have been tearing up that course. JK, I don't run. Okay, so the Everest Challenge, is that what it was called?
Something like that. I don't remember anymore. It's all a blur. It's all a blur. There was also supposed to be a scavenger hunt associated with it, but again, because of the potential storm that was going to be rolling through, they had to cut some logistics behind it. I don't know if that was really the reason or if they just didn't have it up and running yet. Who knows? Disney
arranged for that storm to be a potential threat.
Fair. I blame it on Disney. I blame it on Chapek. That storm happened because of Chapek.
Okay, so the Animal Kingdom run, maybe not your favorite, but what else did you do? What other runs did you experience?
So the next run was the 10K, which was the Race for the Taste 10K, which is an old run. All of these runs were runs from Disney's past that they just haven't done in a while. That was sort of the theme of the weekend of
Celebrating Yestermorrow.
Or Ghosts of Run Disney Past. So as I said, the next one was the 10K, the Race for the Taste 10K, which I believe used to happen during the Wine and Dine season. But this time they obviously grouped it in with the Run Springa weekend. And it's a mostly Epcot 10K. So you're running through Epcot and then on the highway and then back again through Epcot, which is really fun. Everything was lit up. Everything was really beautiful. They had great characters out. Remy was sort of the host of this run, which was fun. You don't really see Remy a lot, but of course, with the new attraction open, it made a lot of sense. It was a fun one. I will say it was, again, the weather was an issue that day. It was so humid out that I think every single person on the course that day slowed way down. Nobody had a personal record that day, and it was a little bit of a miserable run, I will say. That being said, everything else that Disney did with the run was great. It was really beautiful. It was really fun, but the weather was just a nightmare. So again, not my favorite experience at a Run Disney run.
Well, this sounds like a nightmare. There was one more run.
I know. What are we even doing here? It was a terrible weekend. See you next time, everybody. No, it was great. I'm glad I did it. And, we all learned some new things about techniques for running when the weather is unbearable. So I guess that's a win.
I love that positive spin you just put on it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So the next one was my favorite of the three runs. It was the Tower of Terror 10-mile run, which focused obviously on the Tower of Terror and Hollywood Studios, and Goofy was sort of the host. Bellhop Goofy was the host of this run. It was a great run. It was very well themed, I will say. Not often do you get a Run Disney run that's cohesive all the way through. Sometimes it's just like, here's a character here, here's a character there. But it was sort of centered around 1939. Anyone who went on the run heard 1939 1,000 times in their ears. You all know what I'm talking about. Can't explain it. You had to be there. So there were a lot of singers that were doing like old timey music on the course.
Oh.
It was really cool, and a lot of the music that was played through the parks were sort of slowed down, jazzy versions of Disney songs. It was great. It was a really well themed run, and running through Star Wars Galaxy's Edge for the first time was really cool too. We were the first group of runners to experience that on a Run Disney course.
I love the tie-in with the Tower of Terror, and I love what you said about how they kind of themed elements to old Hollywood or the late 30s, you know. I just imagine, like, instead of water, they're giving you gimlets or like sidecars as you run along the course.
Who doesn't want just a shot of gin on mile 8, you know?
Put some pep in your step.
That's gross.
So that was your favorite, you would say, of the 3 runs you experienced during the springtime surprise weekend?
Absolutely. We couldn't have asked for better weather. It was a little bit cool because of the storms that had already happened. The weather was way cooled down. The ambiance was amazing. The theming was great. The metal was incredible at the end of it as well. It was just a really good run. One of my favorite experiences, I think, in a Run Disney course. And I will say, I definitely felt a lot better after doing a 10K versus a half marathon. My legs were thanking me the next day that I didn't run a full half marathon.
Yeah, I can imagine you felt much more energized in the parks after not having kind of exerted that amount of energy running a much longer run.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun that they did that as well because I felt like it made it more accessible for people who want to try their first challenge. And this is just, I mean, you know, 3 miles is not a ton of miles to cut off of it, but it's enough to go, you know what, this is a little bit more attainable for me if I'm a first-time runner or a first-time challenge runner. So I'm glad that they have that option this year.
Yeah, that's great. And so this running slot in the Run Disney schedule, correct me if I'm wrong, this is going to change every year, right? Like there's going to be a different kind of theme they're going to associate with it?
That's how we understand it, at least for now. I don't know if this was just a filler year or if this is what they're going to do from now on, of having different themes every single year in the springtime.
Got it. Well, it sounds great. I mean, weather issues aside and kind of the questionable planning that Disney may or may not have done regarding the nighttime run at Animal Kingdom, it does sound like you still had some great experiences and maybe some challenges that you'll learn from, right?
Yes, absolutely. And it was fun to mix it up, too, as I said, with the nighttime run and then it being a 10-mile instead of a half marathon. The courses were a little bit different. So it felt like a very different experience for Run Disney. You know, it wasn't the same old as it usually is. All
right, let's talk about your parks experiences, Patrick. Were there any new attractions or experiences that you were able to partake in during this trip?
I did. Interestingly, in Epcot, I finally, Adam, experienced the American Adventure.
Okay, here we go, everybody. This is the moment I've been living for my entire life, really. For those that don't know, the American Adventure is within the American Adventure Pavilion and is a stage animatronics show.
That's right. It is a tour of American history hosted by Benjamin Franklin and Mark Twain, strangely.
Notable best friends. Not many people know that.
Notable best friends and unproblematic authors.
Okay, yeah, there's that. There's definitely that. What did you think of the show, Patrick?
Oh, I have some notes, Adam, for the American Adventure. Listen, I love that it's a thing, and I understand that it is of its time, but it is time to update it. Absolutely. I think that there are some problems that need to be addressed, especially when it comes to people of color, especially when it comes to its portrayal of the Native Americans or lack thereof, and of the Civil War or lack thereof. It's a real mess right now that needs to be fixed, I think. And I think it can be done. They just need to do it. They just need to pull it, fix it, and put it back online.
Yeah, but they added Beyonce into the montage at the end.
They sure did. They sure tried their best, didn't they, of adding people of color by saying, let's see, who do we know? Oprah? Great. Throw her in there. Let's put Beyonce in there. Obama? Great. Let's put him in there. It's just like, okay, we can do better than that. We can do better than a 5-second montage of people of color. And let's be clear, it was only African American or Black Americans. There were very few Asian Americans in there. There were very few Native Americans in there. There were very few Hispanic Americans in there. It was noticeably an afterthought, if that makes sense.
I don't even think it was a before thought.
Clearly not. Clearly not. When your representation of the Civil War is a song about two white men and their struggle in the Civil War, that's a problem. That's a real problem.
They were torn, Patrick. They were torn apart by the choices they made.
They sure were. And apparently that's the lesson we all learned from the Civil War, according to the American Adventure.
I think you make excellent points. And I think that is a show, unlike the Hall of Presidents, where there's no attachment to political issues behind it, right? So it really could use an extensive refurb and could be taken down, I think, without kind of a noticeable upheaval in Epcot's crowd capacity. Does that make sense? Like, I think that it's a show that could be pulled for a while, reworked, reopened, and it wouldn't cause any kind of great disturbance in Epcot's crowd flow.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the space, the real estate that they have is amazing. And the things that they can do in that space, I would love to see them really rework this and make it more of today. And they can absolutely do that. And please get rid of Mark Twain as a narrator. Come on.
That's a great point. And you bring up several points that honestly haven't even occurred to me in the story that's being told behind that show. So I think you have sold me on the fact that this needs a really big overhaul. And who knows? I mean, I say it so lightly, like, it can be taken down and the crowd flow won't be affected. But, technically, I'm sure it's a nightmare because it was created in the late 70s, early 80s. And, I'm sure that technology is like patched together with duct tape at this point. So who knows? But you're right, Patrick. That show does need an overhaul.
Needs an overhaul. But I will say I do respect the song at the end of it. It is a very catchy song.
It truly is American propaganda at its best, and I'm here for it. It's a beautiful song.
It is. It really is. Interesting. I will say, I absolutely love the Hall of Presidents a lot more than I liked the show, because the Hall of Presidents actually kind of went there a little bit with America's sordid past, and this one sort of gave it a lip gloss, candy coated representation of American history. So when it comes to representation, strangely, the Hall of Presidents wins for me, even though it's a room full of white men.
Yeah, and has the fortune of being updated more regularly, right? Because they do install a new president in it, so they can change things out. But yeah, you're bringing up excellent points. So Disney, get on it. We have ideas for you. Many
ideas. So moving on from there, also within Epcot, I experienced for the very first time, Reflections of China.
Wait a minute. The new show hasn't opened. This is still the original show, right?
Yes, 100%. It is the original show, and boy, can I not wait for that update to happen, because it too has some problems, Adam, in the representation of China. But it is a beautiful, beautiful theater, and I imagine when it first came out, it was stunning to see. It's aged quite a bit. The computers that they show in how revolutionary China is in its technology are real boxes with a couple of keys attached to them. It was like, oh boy, you're not fooling anybody with that. But I'm excited for the new show to come out. The theater is, as I said, gorgeous. I got a little dizzy every once in a while because that circle vision is incredible. But more importantly, to the side of that, within that same building, there is a really beautiful display of Shanghai Disney. And do yourself a favor and go see that. It is remarkably beautiful in there.
I did happen to catch that on one of my trips, and it is an incredible exhibit and really gives you a great sense of the scale of Shanghai Disney, how huge that park is.
Yeah, it really sold me on that. I would love to go visit that when we are able to go visit that, I guess.
Okay, so far regarding attractions and experiences, a very show forward, a very exhibit forward trip for you, Patrick.
Yes, I'm really showing my age here, and that the things that I'm trying are things that get me off my feet and into some air conditioning. And it also exposed to me that, like, I love Epcot, as you know. It's not my favorite park, but it really exposed that some things really need to be updated, not just visually within Epcot, but culturally within Epcot as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, there needs to be great detail and attention paid to those pavilions and what is appropriate in not only the current time, but times going forward.
Yes. What is appropriate and what is appropriation, I think, would be the distinction.
Slap it on a t-shirt, Patrick.
Say that.
Okay, notes for Epcot. Got it. What else? What else are we talking about?
I'm interested to know, I will say, are they bringing in Colombia instead of Brazil for the new pavilion within Epcot? There's a really lovely sort of Encanto garden that they have constructed. I can't remember exactly where it is. It's sort of, I think it's near Japan in the World Showcase. It is a really lovely garden, and it almost, to me, looked like they were setting the stage for potentially having something there. It was set up for Flower and Garden, obviously, but it looks like there might be something going there that, as I said, might be more permanent, that might represent either Colombia or South America in general, or just the movie Encanto. Who knows? So I'm interested to know what's going on there, what might come in the future.
Listen, Patrick, don't be starting rumors about a new pavilion coming to World Showcase. We've all been wanting and needing this in our lives, and a Colombian pavilion celebrating Encanto, featuring some kind of Encanto attraction would be amazing.
I think so. I absolutely think so. We were speculating when we were walking through it that wouldn't it be really cool, much like they were going to have the Moana water walkthrough, to have the Encanto house, the casita walkthrough. Just some fun little sparks of magic happening as you walk through sort of the facade of the house, I guess.
I would absolutely love that, as would all of America and the world.
The whole world needs it.
Well, let's move on to some of the other parks. There are, in fact, 4 parks in Walt Disney World. Patrick, what else did you do in, let's say, Magic Kingdom or Hollywood Studios or Animal Kingdom?
You know, I didn't do too much else that was new to me on this trip. That was kind of it for new experiences, attraction-wise, within the parks. I also didn't honestly spend a ton of time in the parks, as generally happens for me with the Run Disney weekends. It's more about relaxation and just hanging out with friends, having some meals, having some drinks, and just sort of not overexerting yourself. So I did go to the parks, but I didn't do anything too crazy. I got to go on Rise of the Resistance. I got to go on Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. I did some of the staple new things that I really like to do. But beyond that, it was very show forward, if you will. I saw the Country Bear Jamboree. I saw, most of the things that you can just sit down and relax and just have a casual time at Disney, which I really love doing.
Well, let's talk about who you spent your time with. Who did you hang out with during this trip?
I got to hang out and meet a lot of people on this trip. Some new faces to me, people who I just only knew through the pod or through Instagram or through Run Disney on Instagram. And then a lot of people that I hang out with a lot and love very dearly. Of course, Nick and Dave, our Canadian Tweedles, were there. They were running some of the runs. Nick ran all 3 of the runs with me. They are Jankowsk Nick and Dave Rose Actor on Instagram. We talk about them a lot here on the pod. I also got to hang out again with Ryan and Lane, who are very lovely Florida residents now, Space Ranger Ryan and Tomorrowland Lane on Instagram. Incidentally, happy birthday, Lane. It was just your birthday this past week.
Happy birthday, Lane.
Very, very lovely individuals. For the first time, I finally met Damien, who's Damien Daz on Instagram. He is a longtime listener of the pod. We have been Instagram friends for a very long time. Our paths have crossed many times, but we finally got to hang out with each other. We were actually both staying at the Coronado Tower as well. So we had some drinks there, had dinner together. It was great. He is a fantastic human being.
Great. Love Damien. Who else did you happen to meet or spend time with?
I ran into our friend and longtime listener of the pod, longtime Tweedle, Randy, Magical Travels with Randy on Instagram. He was there with some of his friends. We ran into him basically in my last minutes in the park as well, which was great. So that was really fun. Always a joy to run into Randy. And I met one of my Run Disney buddies, Justin, there, who is J Don 10 31. He was also staying at the Coronado Tower, so we got to ride the buses to the races every morning and run the runs together. And he's so great. He's a wonderful run companion. He is one of those people who will keep track with you or slow down with you or go faster with you, whatever you want to do. So just a great man. And I got to meet his husband. I believe his name is Jack. Justin, I'm so sorry if I'm getting your husband's name wrong, but I'm pretty sure his name is Jack. I met him as well. Amazing human being. Just so fun to see all these Tweedles in the park over and over again for the Run Disney weekends. It's such a joy for me. It's one of my favorite things to do on a trip is to meet a lot of our Tweedles.
It sounds fantastic. And all the people you mentioned, I know a few of them. I'm sure they're all great. And I think this is just a great example of, if you do have a solo trip planned to a Disney park, it really is a wonderful opportunity for you to connect with friends you may have on Instagram or have never met in person and spend some time together and explore the parks.
That's right. Put it out there that you're going to be in the parks. You never know who's also going to be there, who may want to just meet for a quick drink or something or go on a ride together. It doesn't have to be an all-day experience. Just meet these people that you sort of know on Instagram. Know them for real. Know them for real instead. I should say, I don't know why I forgot to mention them. My brother and sister happened to be in Disney at the same time. My brother and sister-in-law and their children, my niece and nephew, Olivia and Sam, they were on a family vacation and our paths just happened to cross a couple of times while we were in Disney.
That's adorable, a little fam time in Walt Disney World.
In fact, they were the first people I ever went to Walt Disney World with many years ago.
And the circle is complete, Patrick. It all comes back, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does.
So you spent your time with some wonderful people, including family, on this trip. I love that.
Yeah.
You mentioned dining a little bit, Patrick. What were some standout food items and or meals that you had?
Well, I'll be upfront and say that I mostly, for the most part, I lived that quick service life on this trip. It was a lot of quick service meals, a lot of just easy grab and go items. But I do want to mention that I was fortunate enough to have dinner at Toledo with Damien, Ryan, and Lane on my first evening there. Damien had happened to grab a reservation, and they invited me along with their group. And boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what, if you're staying at the Coronado Springs, even if you're not, but especially, it's a lot easier. If you're staying there, go have dinner at Toledo. It is so delicious.
Located on top of the Gran Destino Tower, correct?
That's right next to the Dahlia Bar, which is also an amazing experience, which has a beautiful balcony that you can see the fireworks from Epcot and Hollywood Studios when those happen.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Toledo is like small plate, like tapas?
When we were there, it looked like they only had small plates. I think sometimes they do actually have entrees, but for the most part, it is a Spanish-inspired tapas restaurant. But the dinner was fantastic. Like I said, I highly recommend it. Every single thing that we ordered was delicious. Strangely, my favorite thing that we had were the Brussels sprouts. They were so good.
No child of the 80s has ever said that, and yet here we are.
Here we are. I'm 40, and I love Brussels sprouts now.
Well, the advancements that have been made, we know how to cook them now, and they don't need to be frozen beforehand.
It's true. They were not just boiled Brussels sprouts that fell apart in your mouth.
Well, overall, Patrick, it sounds like you had a wonderful time. You got to spend time with some really great people. You got to experience some new Run Disney events in the inaugural Springtime Surprise Weekend. As is tradition with our trip reports, Patrick, we'd like to focus on the trip high and the trip low. Patrick, I will give you the option of which you'd like to start with.
Oh, interesting. Let's start low this time instead of ending on a low point, which we usually do, and it never works out well. But let's see, the low point of the trip. I don't know that I had a low point of the trip. It was just a really nice, relaxing weekend. I would say the weather was up and down, and that's not really a Disney fault. That's wherever you're going to go, there's always weather. But that was a little bit of a bummer. That sometimes it was just way too hot to really experience anything, and then sometimes it was really cold in the mornings too. So we ran the gamut. I didn't pack appropriately, apparently, for this for this weekend. I needed a sweater, and I also needed just the tiniest bathing suit one could find to get out of that heat.
Yeah, you got to pack like a housewife, apparently, when you visit Disney World in early April.
You really do. You need a full glam squad as well to recover your skin after the multiple changes in atmosphere.
All right, so whether not necessarily that cooperative, what was your trip high?
You know, I'll say this. It's an interesting thing that I don't really or haven't really talked about on the pod, and I really experienced it fully this time around. I spent most of my time with other queer identifying people in the Disney parks. In fact, there were very few heterosexual people in my party this time around, which isn't always the case. And it just reminded me how important it is, how community is important in my life, right? How it's important to surround yourselves with people in the community and to celebrate each other and to be around each other and to just have that camaraderie with each other. In my own personal life, I noticed that I don't have a lot of gay identifying friends that I hang out with, if that makes sense. I have a few and they're great and I love them dearly, but most of the people in my life are heterosexual, which is great. I'm not saying that I need to get rid of them and to bring in other people, but it really emphasized the importance, as I said, of hanging around other people who are in the same boat as you, as it were, sort of people who can understand where you're coming from, people who have similar journeys to you, and how empowering that really can be. And that was on full display during this trip for me, which was great. It was something that I want to pay more attention to in my life, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. You know, there are a million different personalities out there and not everyone's going to mesh together. But when you can meet someone at ground level and have a similar experience to them, like say, for instance, being homosexual or, you know, growing up and being queer identifying, you then have that connection right off the bat. And who knows where it goes from there, but at least you can connect on that level.
Yeah, absolutely. It reignited my excitement for Pride this year in the parks. As I think I've said before on the pod, I am planning to be there for Gay Days in Disney World this June, the first week of June. And this experience, as I said, reignited my excitement for that, for the community, just to be with other Disney-loving homosexuals in the parks. You know, I think this year more than ever, we really need to show the world that we are here, that we're visible, that we are powerful, and that we are a community that is not to be messed with.
With expendable income.
That's fair. That's fair.
As always, Patrick, I'm so delighted that you had a wonderful trip and that you were able to share your experiences with us because, you know, we're still in the thick of it. We're still dealing with, hopefully, the end of this pandemic. It feels like we're in a really good course now. So if we can just stick it out a little bit longer, we'll all be back in the parks. So for those who aren't able to travel to the parks, this is a wonderful opportunity for them to kind of live vicariously through your experiences.
Well, I'm happy to do it. You're right. We're not out of it, and we still need to be careful. We need to take care of each other. We need to take care of ourselves. But we're getting there. We're getting there. Baby steps, right?
Right. It feels like we're on a good path. If any of you have any questions regarding your upcoming trips, or if you're interested to learn more about Run Disney, you should absolutely reach out to Patrick. He's a wonderful resource. You can do so by sending us a message on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast.
Or leave us a voice memo or an email at info@gazetothed.com.
You know, Patrick, it really was not lost on me that the run through Animal Kingdom was not as functioning as it should be, much like the Yeti in Expedition Everest is also not functioning like it should be.
I wonder if they planned it out that way. They're like, you know what? It's broken. So is this run.
Part of the theme. It's all part of the theme. Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Adam.
Let's make this a gold chocolate bar quick tea experience.
All right, we only have 11 more to get through. So that's funny.
I brought it back and I'm regretting it already. So, Tweedles, I hate to disappoint you, but we have in fact reached the end of this episode, and that means it is time for Quick D. I guess I don't really know what that disappointment refers to, the end of the episode or the fact that we're doing Quick D at all, but either way, we've reached the end of this episode, and we are doing Quick D, so take that.
That's right. Choose your own disappointing adventure.
Absolutely. This week, we are doing Quick D Classic. That means that Patrick and I are going to ask each other a question we have not been privy to prior to recording. And we're going to answer it Off the cuff, Patrick, I would be delighted, absolutely delighted if you would ask me your question first.
Fair enough. Adam, as you know, I just got back from the Run Disney Springtime Surprise Weekend, where the themes will be changing every year, a mystery theme, if you will. Could you please tee up for me a couple of upcoming Run Disney Springtime Surprise Weekend themes?
I can do that. Have we done this already? I can't remember.
Oh, if we have, I'm not sorry about it. Let's just make it funnier.
Would love to be able to go back and listen to that episode if we did in fact do it, and I would just regurgitate my brilliant answers.
It's the Springtime Surprise rerun.
Okay, so some Springtime Surprise themes. The first one, which is a 100-miler run, 100 miles,
Great.
is called It's a Small World Whirl.
Okay.
Actually, I want to correct that. It's a small world, but spelled WHIRRLED.
I'll allow for it.
Thank you. 100 miles, but you are, in fact, running in a circle the entire time. Puke buckets provided.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
The second theme is shirts and skins. Absolutely unrelated to Disney in any way. I just want to see some hot guys pop those tops off while they're running.
Oh, you will see that. You will see that on a Run Disney course, regardless. Hot guys they don't need a reason to pop that top off. They'll just do it.
This theme really doesn't matter, does it? I mean, you're right. They're just going to take that. It could be like -20 and they're still like, oh, gotta take this shirt off.
This shirt is so cumbersome. I can't.
Okay, correction, revision, shorts and skins.
There it is. There it is. Take those bottoms off, fellas.
That one is also 100 miles.
Oh. Ruined. You've ruined it. No one wants to see anything down there after 100 miles.
It's true. And the last theme is Enchanted Tiki Zoom, in which you are attacked by birds, tropical birds, the entire time you run the course.
Here's where we are in in COVID times, is that I assumed it was going to be a run over Zoom, not Zoom as in run.
It certainly can be if you want, but either way, you're getting attacked by tropical birds, Patrick.
Perfect. We will ship the birds to you if needed. You know how when you open a box and like a butterfly might come out? It's going to be those birds that just... That's how I can picture right now of just opening. Oh, someone sent me a gift. Angry birds just attack you. Oh, what a springtime surprise.
All right, Patrick, here is my question for you. As you so smartly pointed out in your trip report, the American Adventure requires an overhaul and perhaps 2 new hosts. Patrick, who are the new animatronic hosts for the American Adventure in the American Adventure Pavilion in Epcot?
Good question. It's still Mark Twain. No, I'm just kidding. We're getting rid of him. You're canceling the Mark Twain of it all.
It's Mark Twink.
I like where you're going with that. I like that. Okay, great. 2 new animatronic hosts for the American Adventure.
Representing all of American history, no pressure.
You know, I'd like to see an animatronic of host of Survivor, Jeff Probst. I think Survivor really encapsulates the American Adventure, don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like season 84 right now that they're
season
on.
84. Yeah, I think it started just around the time of the American Revolution is when Survivor started. And also, I just want to see Jeff Probst a lot. I'm very attracted to Jeff Probst.
Even robot Jeff Probst?
I think he is a robot. I think it's just a lift and land at this point. Yeah, I'm not sure that he's alive still. I can't confirm that. So there's host number 1. And who would he be hosting with, you might ask? The answer, of course, is Lizzo. Jeff Probst and Lizzo.
A likely pairing.
Absolutely true. Listen, I just want Lizzo to tell it like it is. I want Lizzo to let us know some truths behind the American Adventure.
I truly love this. I love a revisionist history being told and Lizzo pulling out her flute and really breaking it down and letting us know how it actually happened.
Oh my God, if there's a flute solo, I will never stop crying. It will be amazing. I kind of just want to watch Lizzo watch the current American Adventure and have her say some things about it.
Maybe that's the overhaul. They just install 2 screens on either side of that stage, and it's Lizzo commenting on what's happening on the stage.
I would love this to be the American Adventure, yeah. And it's actually just her that's going to be there, and a rotating host of guests who have some things to say about this show, and I want to see them just comment all the way through it.
You're saying, Lizzo, your musical career's over? You are now just focused solely on the American Adventure?
This is her new American Adventure, I would say. That will do it for this episode of Gays Do the D. Thanks for listening. To become a patron of the podcast, visit our website at gaysdothed.com/donate. For a donation of any amount, you can receive exclusive Gays Do the D content and help us continue to bring you the very best Disney news and discussion. Continue the conversation after this episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast. Submit your questions or show ideas to info@gaysdothed.com. Have a great week, everybody. See ya real soon.